Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I think that's all three of you that are on this camera. Uh, it's primary election eve 2022. So I figured I would do a live stream. Originally, tonight was going to be the night that we were condensing and compiling all of the petition signatures. I had this planned quite some time ago, and I am sad to announce that we do not have those. So that's my official announcement. We do not have enough signatures in order to get even close to getting my name on the ballot. So it's going to be a write-in campaign at this point. So we are going until the end. Not giving up because the state is worth fighting for, especially all of the people that our state is currently trying to take rights away from. So not giving up, just going to be a write-in campaign. So get used to spelling my name. If you are watching on YouTube, Twitch, or what's the other one? Facebook, you can comment. I can see those and can reply to everywhere but Facebook. Rebecca, yeah, sad face. Fully, I completely agree. Not a huge fan either, but it's all right. I started late. I knew that going into this. But the fun part is they'll never see me coming, right? if we're gonna take a quote from a movie and use it. I'm also streaming on TikTok, so I will occasionally look off camera, look over here. I'm here to chat with you guys now, so I don't have to count ballots or petitions, so I'm here to chat. If you guys have any questions for an independent candidate for Alabama's governor position, I would love to chat with you guys and gals, she's, that, gays, and theys. Let's hang out for a bit and chat, and let's do this. So I've got time. I blocked off a couple hours for tonight because I thought I'd be counting ballots or petitions. So if you have questions, I'd love to chat with them. If you're on TikTok and you have 1,000 people, jump on and put in a guest request. You're welcome to jump on. I don't know if everybody else will be able to hear you, but I will do my best to do that. Story, hi. I don't think you. Yeah, you don't have enough followers. I'm gonna say you could jump on. Let's chat. I know you guys just got done with a meeting. You guys just got done with field operations, I think. So Rebecca on Twitch has a really good question. Thoughts on EMS, fire, and police funding? So you're combining three different things, and those would need to be three different thoughts. The first two, yes. The third one, that's a topic that needs to be considered very thoughtfully because they do not do what most of us think they do. They are not here to protect people. They are literally not required by the Supreme Court. They went to the Supreme Court and they said no, they don't have to do that. So, let's see. I should have open guest requests though, so that should be open. Rebecca, I hope that answered your question broadly. Like, yes, we need to fund EMS and fire. Police is a whole nother deal. That does not need any more funding if the amount that we currently have. Let me see if I can find settings because you guys are saying story. Yeah, I'll give you mod. Ooh, it won't let me give you mod, will it? Let's see. If I click multi-guest. Oh, there's people already in there. Okay, cool. Blair, I think, was up first. Stellar, let me get Blair in real quick. And actually, it says invite. Blair, I think I invited you. Whoops. Nope, I don't stay. Did I let you in? I don't know. TikTok's being weird. Rachel asks, have you heard about AL schools requiring students to fill out FAFSA paperwork to get their diplomas even if they're not going to college? No, I have not heard that. That's kind of nuts. I have not heard that yet. I am not seeing. I'm going to go to settings and see if it'll let me on TikTok. Sorry, getting a little distracted. Rebecca, you didn't know that. Yeah, from 2005 or so. They literally went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, no, they don't have to protect people. That's not they're not required. It's not a part of their job description. So comment settings are open. Moderators, I have a ton already, so I don't know. I'm not worried about moderation right now. We'll deal with that if it becomes problematic. But Rachel on YouTube, please look into that further and send me any info you find about schools requiring FAFSA to graduate, like filling out the form, because uh, that sounds like a no. That shouldn't be the case. I don't know why it's not letting me let you guys in. Oh, allow co-host invites. There we go. Hold on. I think I had turned that off because of campaign meetings. So it should be open. 4 Captain, 2 Cannabis, 0, 420. I literally just caught that about your username, by the way. They said this being required in Dothan schools. Yeah. You still don't see the guest request button. Well, poop. Hold on. Allow co-host requests. I don't know. Receive invites from suggested live hosts as a no. Those things are never end well. I'm not a huge fan of those. Multi-guest. If I hit settings here, fix late. Oh, here we go. There we go. Try that. It should be available in the next 30 seconds. All right, Rebecca used to work EMS, and we were getting paid $14 an hour, and 24-hour shifts were still legal. Didn't get any funding like nurses, and like they did and they deserve, but the 24-hour shifts are problematic. So are you saying you're literally working for 24 hours straight at that point? Because that sounds dangerous, especially in any field. It doesn't matter which one it is. All right, Blair, I'll bring you up. Come on in. I'm hoping if I turn off my headset, I'm hoping everyone else can hear you on the other stream. So we're going to see how this goes. Oh, there we go. Hi. And I think everybody else can hear you also. So we should be good. How are you? Yes, that would be TikTok Live for me most of the time. So sorry. I don't recognize the username. Do you use something different elsewhere? Oh, okay, cool. Sweet. So you will be getting access to my social media as soon as I hand it over to Story. I have to give access. Yeah, you'll be getting access to that soon, hopefully. So how are you? Pretty good, pretty good. It's a bit, even though it's expected, it's still a bit, not fun to have to announce that I'm doing the write-in campaign versus getting my name on the ballot. But like the Libertarian Party here in the state has been working on their petition for, I don't know, a year and a half or so, and like they were close to their mark. So it's not unexpected, but I was hopeful, and that's what I'm going to continue to be. I'm going to be hopeful, and we're going to push for it. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is completely different from anybody has done that I've seen, and everybody I talk to is super confused at first, but in a good way, where they're like, I don't understand. I'm like, yeah, no, you don't, because you're expecting typical politics, and that's not what we're doing. So yes, yeah, it's that's kind of the whole um that's the way this is supposed to work. Is like people who want to make a change, like make change. It's not this weird like boys club, like have to pay to get access. Like that's not how this I'm going to use the word should. People say that you shouldn't use the word should because you're putting your own bias on things, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like that's not the way this should work. So we're gonna say it anyway. I do want to answer somebody's question from earlier. Cannabis, yes, no. I mean, it should be legal for whatever purposes you want, whether it's recreational medicine. Like if you want to use, if you want to smoke a plant, like smoke a plant. Like I don't that shouldn't be a problem. I understand it's problematic to undo where we're at, but I think it should be legal, and I will push for that. I need everybody tomorrow to go vote for the people in our state who are more likely to allow that to happen, and then in November vote for them again so that it's more likely to actually have that happen. So
I lived in Alabama and was old enough to vote. You'd have mine.
Appreciate it. Thank you. If you know anybody in Alabama, spread the word.
I live in Ohio, so.
Oh, okay. So I have a question for you. This is kind of random. Rachel, acknowledging you. Thank you for putting the link in Discord. You can also put it in the. Actually, Discord's fine for that. I've got to do research and then we'll post it in the forums. You're in Ohio, so but you're a minor now, so you may not. So a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, grew up in Ohio, and I always pick on him because their schools had the most ridiculous lunch options. Like he had Chick-fil-A in his school cafeteria for lunch, and then he at one point.
We have Christmas food now.
Yeah, that sounds closer to what I had. But he also mentioned McDonald's for a long time, and I think one location in Ohio still has pizza. Like they literally, it's like straight up takes 15 minutes. Like they make you a pizza, and that was. We always just pick on him every time we talk about high school. So like, oh yeah, like yeah, you and your McDonald's pizza and your Chick-fil-A, okay, sure thing. Abortion incubator.
I've never heard of that in my state. I do know that my state is not very friendly with the trans community. I myself am a trans woman.
Yeah, that's unfortunately a common thing across the entire country still. That's there are some states that are being. I made a video about it a week ago. I think it was Connecticut. I follow Aaron. Oh, I don't remember their username, but they post a lot about the LGBT community, and she's trans, and posted about Connecticut, I think, passing laws so that Connecticut won't spend Connecticut tax dollars to effectively like hunt down and find uh, out of state refugees looking for healthcare. So I stitched her video and said, hey, Alabama, like we have to get our crap together because we have other states protecting our residents more than we are. Like we are actively trying to harm them, and they are trying to protect them. And there's that's a problem.
So in Ohio, they've been trying to illegalize hormone therapy for minors.
Yeah.
And it hasn't passed yet, but it's House Bill 464. If anybody wants to give it a little look, see, it's called the Keep Our Kids Safe bill. And it was passed, or it was brought by Governor Mike DeWine himself.
Yeah, that's.
He also tried to propose a bill that bans or proposes the effective right for healthcare providers to deny members of the LGBTQ community life-saving or essential care because they disagree with their life choices. But right now, it's not being passed. So doctors who are primary care providers of trans individuals are immediately writing referrals.
Yeah, good. Like we, they're. That's actually, man. That's almost. I don't know if it's not really. I don't want to quantify it like bad is bad, but like our state banned gender affirming care and made it a Class C felony for the doctors who do it, and that passed and was enacted in earlier in this month. I think it was like May 9th or something. It actually went into effect, and it's freaking atrocious.
It's just for any young trans individual younger than myself listening. Just know that no matter how many times they try to bury you, you are the seed to the next revolution of life, okay?
Yeah. Agreed.
And we all love you and we're all here for you.
If you're in Alabama, like you have somebody who actually cares. Like there are people who are fighting for you. Unfortunately, not many are trying to run for office, and I don't know the reason, but I'm trying. I'm doing my best to do that. So Incubator, you said you had a question for me.
How are you today?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right.
All right.
Hadn't been bad here, thankfully. I'm in Lower Alabama. Yeah, Blair, thanks for jumping on, though.
Have a really great night, Jared. I look forward to hearing the great things that you're doing for my community and for every other community. And good luck.
Thank you, Blair. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
And I look forward to working with you on the campaign for you as the VP.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Incubator, I don't know that we've been on a live together before, and I want to double check your pronouns.
I am she, her.
Cool. And I forgot to ask Blair, so sorry, Blair. Thank you for telling me before I started talking. I appreciate that.
My name is Christina. You can call me Christina.
All right, Christina. Awesome.
No problem with that because it's kind of like, yeah, if you start with the first half, it's kind of awkward. If you start with the last half, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's making a statement without saying a word. But the one thing I wanted to ask you was, a bunch of friends and I have been discussing this.
Yeah.
Is if we registered as Republicans,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we vote the least likely candidate in a primary. Since you're not going to make the ballot itself, are you?
Correct. Yeah, I won't. My name will not be printed on the ballot. That is correct.
So, if we vote Republican
Mm-hmm.
and vote the least likely candidate to win in the primary tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of screws them up.
It can, yeah. So the thing you have to be careful of is if you vote in the primary and they go into a runoff. Sorry, if you vote the primary and there ends up being a runoff, you can't vote in the opposite party for the runoff. So just, I'm not endorsing you to do anything specific. But if you were to vote in party A for the primary and your party B goes into a runoff, you can't vote in party B's runoff. If you don't vote in the primary, you can vote in either runoff. But you have to, in the primary and the runoff, they have to be the same party if you're going to vote in both. So be cautious of that. Well, so there's other stuff to vote for, though. Well, yeah, so it's not me, but there are a bunch of other things you have to be voting for. So you have your, you've got your district seats and everything else.
But I was just thinking on the governorship.
Yeah, so in the primary, you have to pick a party, though. So like you have to pick one or the other. So if you like the Democratic candidates for every other seat except governor, wink, wink, then you wouldn't want to vote in the primary necessarily in the Republican side, because you may want to help influence which Democrat gets on the ballot for this other stuff that you care about. So like it's a,
because our ballots are really screwy.
Depending on where you're at, like on mine specifically, I think there's
across the bay from you.
Yeah, so there's like 3 or 4 Democratic seats that I can vote for. Like everything else is just red across the board. So like, but there are a few that are blue, and I have some decisions to make by tomorrow morning. I'll say it that way. So yeah.
Same.
But that's up to you guys.
Thinking that because we've been discussing that and try to knock Ivy off her high horse, get rid of Mima somehow.
Yeah.
And still, I worked with Doug Jones's campaign, and that was it was so stressful because we were up against somebody who shouldn't even be walking the streets free.
Oh, you're talking about you're talking about Sassy?
You can't comment on it. It's fine. That's just telling a story. But I mean, on that campaign, and we were by the skin of our teeth, we got a decent person into Congress for once.
Right. Yeah. Allegedly has done a lot of horrible things. I don't think anything's been convicted, but there have been.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly have done some very horrible things.
But riding a horse in and things like that. And
on Sassy?
I was disgusted.
Wasn't it Sassy? Wasn't that the horse's name?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I want to answer Rebecca's question real quick because I think I may have misspoken or I said it really quickly. I will be asking you to write me in November tomorrow is the primary where the two parties pare down all their options for one per seat. So governor for Republican Party has, I think it's like 11 options right now. I'm probably exaggerating. I tend to do that when I'm doing things off the cuff, but it's a lot. The Democratic side on the governor's position has 5 or 6. So what they're trying to do tomorrow is narrow that down to one on either party. So tomorrow, go and pick whom you would most likely like to see on the ballot, and then come November, my name in the governor spot, and then do what you want on the other seats.
Okay.
But I want to clarify
Well,
that.
It was just we've been mulling that around our
Yeah.
household and stuff.
You're not the only one saying the
Just
same
wanted your
thing.
thoughts on it.
Yeah, you're not the only one asking the same thing. There's a lot of Facebook groups that are they're contemplating the same thing, and it's there's nothing I can find that says it's like illegal or anything. Although that wouldn't surprise me. I haven't found anything. They won't count your vote in the runoff if you're trying to swap parties. So um, between the primary and the primary runoff. But from what I can tell, please go double check the Secretary of State's website yourself. But from what I can tell, what you vote in the primary and what you vote in November are not they're not correlated in any way. So
And our SOS is just an SPOS.
yeah, because then the way
That's my personal opinion.
the way I look at it is, if you vote in the primary one way and the person you really wanted didn't get on the ballot, then like it would be we do a lot of things that are wrong in our state. But like it would be wrong to say, all right, well, if you didn't like that candidate, you can't vote for the other person on the other side. Like that would be. I think a lot of things we do are wrong, but that would be another thing I would find wrong. So I'm hoping that's not the case. I didn't find anything that said that. So if we have any election aficionados who can either confirm or deny what I just said, please do in the chat on any of the 4 platforms we're streaming on, and I will try to correct that. But I think that's true. On TikTok, not TikTok, sorry. On TikTok, you have to have 1,000 followers. So sorry. If you want to say something though, I will say this: go to either Twitch or YouTube, and I just put a link to join in as a guest. I only have like 6 people watching those platforms right now, so I'm not going to get a ton of people trying to jump in. But if you're on TikTok and you can't jump in, but you want to, go to Twitch or YouTube, and there's a comment there that you can jump in on the other stream. So I have another guest request in.
I was just going to make a suggestion on that. Also,
yeah, go for it.
People have done. You know how you can get just about as many phone numbers as you want?
Yeah.
You could do a call-in line here if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to stream both places on this at the same time. So a call-in number for me, okay. It's one more thing I have to try to monitor, and I'll just. It's a one-time link. Like the link that I just put in the chat only works for this live stream. So after this live stream, it doesn't matter. It's not going to let people into another stream later on. So I'm not worried about it. Although anybody watching right now could just jump in. I would have to admit them. They'll end up in the green room. But they can. So follower of I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. You can jump on here. I'll finish up with incubator, and then you can jump on here. Either way is fine. Whichever they would prefer.
I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah. No, it's a really good question. It's that is a strategic question that you can do what you want. Just know the limitation of the primary and the runoff.
I think somebody used the word strategery once upon a time.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you remember that?
Strategery. What?
Strategery. I can't remember who it was that used it.
Oh, you know what? You're gonna have me look. Strategery.
Somebody said
What's?
it. Oh, I can't remember who it was.
Oh, it was Bush. It was W. Bush. Oh, you know what? Except it wasn't. It was actually an SNL skit. It wasn't actually him. It was an SNL skit about him. That's funny.
Okay.
That's good.
Working on the strategery side.
Awesome. Cool.
All right, Jerry, have a good night, okay?
You too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't remember your in real life name, and I don't want to do that on air without asking permission, but what are your pronouns?
It's he, him.
He, him. Cool. Okay. And I don't know how to pronounce the last part. I know that it's Norse pagan, but I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's Yggdrasil. It's part of my faith. Yeah, I'm one of the local Norse pagans here in North Alabama.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, you have the, was it the Copperhead Kindred or something like that? Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I lead a group here in the North Alabama area. We've got about 50 or so members.
Oh, that's rad.
It's kind of like I'm not going to say a church, but it's like the pagan version of like a Bible study group or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's a like a fellowship of some type, right?
Yeah, that's a better word for it, fellowship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Yeah,
Fellowship of the Ring. So.
Not only with that, but with the other pagans in the area, because there's multiple different branches of paganism. I've actually been pushing the pagan community because the pagan community in North Alabama is growing exponentially, and I've been pushing to make sure we can all try to get your name wrote in here in North Alabama with the pagan community.
Awesome. We need every person who can write it in that on the ballot in November will count at this point.
Yeah, because we've, as in the pagan community, which a lot of our members are of the LGBTQ community, we have a large portion of them. We face like discrimination as well constantly. I've had to deal with my daughter's school, and she's only in first grade. And the day we walked in that school for her first day of school, there was Bibles and crosses and all kind of stuff all over her school.
Right.
And that's a public school. And it really bothered me. And every chance they got, they were sending home stuff that related to the local churches and all this. And we actually had an incident where my daughter was wearing one of her sigil necklaces. And she's only in first grade, and a kid came up and snatched it off her neck and broke it.
Man. And I can only assume that not much came of that situation.
No, it didn't. I got the kid. The kid got suspended for a couple of days, but only because I had to go up there and I threatened to get my lawyer involved.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
basically it came to the point where I had to have a meeting with the school board, and I told them if their Christian kids can all wear crosses, my daughter can wear her sigils.
Right. Yeah. No, 100%. You should be able to. You should be able to wear any type of, well, say any type of necklace. There are some things that probably shouldn't be worn in first grade on a necklace, but anyway.
At least when it comes to religious symbols,
right.
It should be open for everyone.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I don't think the Buddhist faith would typically wear a necklace with Buddha on it, but if they did, like, wear that, like, that's okay. Like, or wear is it Shiva, is that one of the Hindu gods? I think it's Shiva. Like, sure, like, okay, like that. It should not be restricted. It just
but that's one of the problems we face here in the South, especially in Alabama. And it's constant harassment when we go out in public. It's constant discrimination. I literally got fired from a job after I came out as pagan. But of course they said it was something else. But it happened to be right after I came out to them as pagan.
Right. Yeah. That's was it free to work state? Is that what I always mix those two up. We had not a debate, but we had to talk about that in one of the campaign meetings, and it was either right to work or work. Oh man, I can't remember. But anyway, the one where you can just get let go for anything. That's
well, technically, that's the thing, is that the technical actual right to work of a state has nothing to do with getting fired. Right to work states are technically only supposed to be, it's about unions, to where a job can't force you to join a union. You have a right to work without a union.
Right.
But most of these states take advantage of it, and a lot of companies, especially here in the South, where they don't have a lot of unions will make you sign paperwork at the beginning that says they can't fire you for any reason.
Yeah.
So if you do know the legal aspects of the right to work, they can still get around it because a lot of jobs will have you sign a paperwork at the beginning saying that they can fire you for any reason.
Yep. Oh, it's at will state. That's what we're talking about. Okay. That's, like I said, there's two, and I mix them up.
And that's the thing is Alabama isn't an at-will state. It's a right-to-work state. But most employers, I found out, will make you sign an at-will employment agreement.
Gotcha. Ugh.
So then most employers can basically fire you for any reason as long as they don't openly say that it's a discrimination issue. Like, if they would have said it was because I was a pagan and I could have got proof of that, I could have sued them.
Right.
But
Right.
because they said it for another reason, they could just let me go for whatever.
Yep. Yeah. Incubator makes a point. Like, they can fire you for not liking your hair. Although, depending on if the Crown Act gets passed, your natural hair they won't be able to fire you for, which is at least a step in the right direction. So Rebecca on Twitch asked if I knew anything about the Satanic Temple not being deemed legitimate or protected in Alabama. I'm not super familiar with the legal status of the Satanic Temple, but I did meet some really cool people at Mob Pride back in early April, maybe late March. I don't remember the dates offhand, but met some of them there. And the thing that they mentioned was, because I asked and said, hey, do you guys meet here locally? Do you meet regularly? And like, well, we have to switch up where we meet because they can't get insurance to cover their building. It's too dangerous for them to have a physical permanent location. No, the insurance doesn't want to cover it. So that's disgusting.
Yeah, they have basically made it like I've been actually trying to start what we call a HOF here in northern Alabama, and they've basically made it nearly impossible for me.
Similar reasons.
Which would be like it's basically the same thing. It's because a HOF is basically translated from Old Norse. It basically means a temple, and I've been trying to create not just a Norse pagan temple, but a temple for all the religions. Like, I wouldn't care if a Christian came in there, but it's going to be open to where pagans can come in there and do our rituals without having to be harassed by Christians.
Yeah.
Because my friend owns a metaphysical shop or a pagan style shop here, and at least once every month or two, me and a couple of my guys have to go out there and basically protect the place because Christians and these come directly from churches. They're coming out there and trying to vandalize it and protest it, throw stuff at the patrons. So we're having to physically defend people.
Yeah. Have you
I've talked to you before about it. Like, there's actually a synagogue here in Huntsville that was defaced with swastikas, and it's happened multiple times, and no one was ever caught, and they never really investigated it, and they only even opened an investigation after somebody reported it to the local news.
Yeah, and it's tough because like my gut instinct is to say report it to like the FBI because they're supposed to look into like hate speech and things like that and move around the state law enforcement because that's problematic. I don't know. I'm getting less and less confident about what law enforcement will look into. The past couple of years have made it very, very eye-opening for me. That I understand that is a privileged point of view, and I admit that openly. But that it's tough. Like that's my gut instinct is like, hey, like go higher. Like report it to somebody up from if the city didn't listen, go state. And if the state doesn't listen, go federal. But they may have already tried that, and I also am not entirely sure how much good that would do. And that's
well, basically what's happening is a lot of the stuff we're reporting here locally, the city and the state really aren't looking into it. We have contacted the FBI, and the FBI, they have reached out to us, and they have been doing investigations about a lot of the stuff happening. But the city and state and the local county and stuff will not do anything.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And it's gotten to the point to where we do our rituals and our meetings in private, like the Satanic Temple has to. We do it on my own private property. And we've still had people down the street come up onto my property and start harassing me on my property, and to the point to where I had to draw my weapon to get them to leave.
Yeah.
And that's how bad it's getting, and it's just getting worse.
Somebody in the TikTok chat mentioned that somebody they mentioned Lex. I'm not, if I'm forgetting who Lex is, I'm sorry. Color redacted, but they said any hate crime reported to the FBI has to be looked into. Again, paperwork is very easy to fudge. So like that's where I'm not saying like it's not supposed to be looked into, but I don't know. I'm getting less and less confident. Oh, Lethal Lex. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I mean, the thing is what does help with what we've been dealing with in our community, in the local North Alabama community, is we actually do have some members. Like I have members of my kindred who are in the government,
okay,
who work for the government, and they're able to help with that. And that's one of the only good things so far. But we do have, and there are active investigations going on that I can't talk about. But
right,
that's one of the issues we're having, is that there is a large community of the white supremacists and the basically Christian radicals that are doing everything they can to push to get into government and local elections and to try to turn the tide in their favor.
mm-hmm.
And it's working.
Yeah. So like the little bit of my history, because I've talked about jumping in on a lot of videos, jumping into the race because of the COVID funds being allocated for prisons. But like it started before that. Like the me knowing I needed to do something and get more involved started before that, and I started looking into school boards because it started with that actually started with the vaccine mandates like that, and I started looking into it. And this year is not my district; like my district's elections are in 2 years, so I kind of I stopped looking into that because that's where I knew that I had passion and could put that passion to use. And when I knew the elections weren't coming up, it was kind of all right. Well, look, let's in 2 years, let's see what happens. And then I met Jasmine here on TikTok, and that the rest is kind of history so far. But the COVID relief funds being allocated $400 million. In case anybody's watching, I looked at my monitor, not the camera. $400 million got allocated from our COVID funds to be spent on new prisons, and we actually just signed a contract here recently for nearly $600 million for a new prison in I don't remember the county name. It's nope, not even gonna try. It's live on air. I don't remember it, but we just signed a new contract, so we're looking at spending $600 million on a single location. So
yeah, I heard about that, and the fact, one thing that's pissed a lot of people off was those COVID funds that were used.
Right.
A lot of the other states, especially like California, New York, and a lot of the more liberal states, have actually used those COVID funds that they had to give back to the people.
Yeah. Like help.
But Alabama chose to use it for prisons.
Yep. And it's like it was 20% of the funds. It's not that any amount would have been justifiable, but I don't think it would have pissed as many people off had it been like, oh, we're going to pay, I don't know, overtime to the health care staff that has to be there because it's COVID, and like we're going to help that. Like that would be less problematic. But almost a quarter of the COVID funds are going towards new facilities and just sitting out there, and actually things got delayed because it's an atrocious idea, and the three people that are the three companies that were originally slated to help build the facilities backed out, and thankfully, and the current one, I wish they would back out, because you shouldn't want to touch this situation with a freaking 10-foot pole. Like we are We are actively keeping more people in prison, even though we have a pandemic and we're nearly 200% to capacity. Like, we should be finding ways to reduce the population inside prisons. And by that, for anybody who's watching, I don't mean kill the prisoners, because goodness, because people have said that. It's like, no, what I mean is we should be putting less people in the prisons, and like the people who are not a danger to society, get them out of the prison. Like, there are alternatives. You don't have to keep them in the prison system. Like, they can do, hey, we could just let them go because it's stupid charges from 30 years ago, but like, get them out of the prison facilities.
People here in Alabama get arrested for like a gram of marijuana and
Right.
get 10 years.
Yeah, so we still have, it's called the Hfoa, and I'm still looking into exactly what it is, but the general synopsis, it's the Habitual Felony Offender Act. And every subsequent felony conviction increases your sentence. And if you have 3 arrests and one of them is a felony, gosh, see, I don't remember the exact specifics, but there's basically, if there's at least one felony conviction and you get arrested and convicted for up like 3 or 4 crimes total, you end up getting life without parole. Like, it just automatically happens, basically. And again, I'm paraphrasing because I'm still looking into it. It's very similar to the 3-strike law. Yeah, very. Yeah, very similar. Yep. Yeah. And again, still looking into it, but the little bit that I was reading last night is it got enacted in the 90s, I think, but in 2000 we tried to amend it to basically say, hey, we're amending it and it's going to be less problematic, and anybody who was affected before the Hfoa was enacted, like, doesn't apply to them. But then in 2014 we undid that part of the amendment, and we were like, nah, it's like we still want that to apply to everybody. Like, and just because Bass Pond Hero showed up, you can keep chatting. I'm going to ignore you. I might tease you to keep you around so you'll keep commenting, because it does help the algorithm. But do your thing. You literally don't bother me. You actually are helping. So please keep commenting.
The funny thing about that is they always say that, more open, more progressive people like you, like me, like everyone like us, they always want to say that we're supporting communism, to when actually the original plan of socialism and communism, the ideal behind it, were actually very good. But break into like Leninism, Stalinism, and breaking into the leaders where it becomes a totalitarianism, that's the bad aspect of it. But the actual ideals of socialism and communism in general, like the original ideals, were actually a very good socioeconomic plans.
Yeah, I don't know enough about them as a whole to speak to them directly. So that's still, yeah.
Well, like, while a lot of countries aren't socialist, a lot of countries, especially over in Europe, like, I have Scandinavian heritage. My teacher, who I've been studying, my mentor in Norse paganism, who I've been studying under for over 5 years now, she's from Sweden. And in Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and all those countries, they don't call themselves socialist, but that's basically what they are. With the healthcare, the universal incomes, everything like that was in the original plans for socialist states.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it's like, that's what I would love to see in the U.S. is I really wish they would do the universal healthcare. And because I have a friend who went over to Denmark and broke his arm over there skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
And when he went to the hospital, the cast, the x-ray, the doctor, everything, the only reason it cost him anything was because he wasn't a citizen of Denmark.
Right.
But it only cost him like $50.
Yeah, super small fee. Yeah, there's actually a candidate with the Unicorn Party, Jasmine Sherman. They're running for president in 2024. So if you're not familiar, get familiar with that account. You would be interested.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to look into that, because like I am all for somewhere up there. Do you remember Andrew Yang?
I do. Yeah, I remember a bit about Andrew was trying to do a, what was it, freedom dividends is what he was trying to trying to implement, whereas basically giving back money from large corporations, taxing them more heavily, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, he was, with his corporations he was doing. He actually selected a community within, I think it was like Brooklyn or New York City, somewhere in that area, and he started paying, basically giving the citizens in that area a universal income.
Yeah.
He was paying it out of his own corporation's taxes and everything like that. He added on to their taxes to do that, and it was very successful. He also helped get them all universal health care. He basically paid for their health care for I think it was 1 or 2 years, and he extended it now. It's still permanent as far as last I heard.
So that's through the really company itself. It was through the company itself, though.
Yeah. And that's what we need, though, is like he's a billionaire, but he's doing that for just regular people he doesn't know.
Yeah, I would be cautious about doing it through a company, only because those are easier to disappear than a state or federal government is. But I agree with the principle.
Well, the reason he did that, though, is because the government's not going to do it, and
right.
He wanted to show that it is possible to do it.
Yeah.
So he did it himself.
Right.
And he was honestly who I voted for. I voted for him because all of his policies were exactly what we really do need.
Yeah,
And that's what I would definitely love to see is just like here in Alabama. I have a feeling we're going to be one of the last ones to implement it, but like we need the legalization of marijuana
for all uses.
I'm not even going to say it's because it's a plant, everybody it's natural, all that. I'm thinking more about the tax revenue off of it.
Yeah, no, it's another way we could bring revenue in. Yeah.
Look at Colorado, look at Oregon, Washington, all the states that legalized it. Ever since they've legalized it, they've had billions in tax revenue each year.
Yeah.
We still have roads here in Alabama that haven't been worked on since the 1990s, and it's because we don't have the tax revenue to fund it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see the issue. Why are they pushing against it so hard? It's because we've got people like Ivey in office who are from the boomer generation that was big during Nixon and Reagan and during this drug war.
Right.
And that's one of the issues that I've been noticing is it's all over the country. I mean, you've got Mitch McConnell who's still in office, who's older than sliced bread.
I don't know if he technically is. Although, funny side note, Betty White was. Like quite literally.
He's not much
yeah. I just thought it was funny because she literally was older by like a year or something. It was just humorous that she actually. That's a really funny thing that everybody says, but.
Sliced bread is within a couple of years of when he was born.
Yeah.
I know he's in his like 80s, late 70s, early 80s, maybe 90s. He's old. Too old to be in office.
Agreed there. Yeah, their term limits I'm all for. Like there's a certain point where you should not be making decisions for the rest of the country. 100% agree. And that's country or state, either way.
His generation naturally, because it's the older generation is dying out, but they're still trying to make decisions for our generation coming up.
And based on their ingrained understanding of how the world works from 60 years ago. So yeah, no, it's way disconnected. Cool. Well, is there anybody? Oh, go ahead.
It drives me nuts that's why people like him are still in office.
Let's see. Rebecca just put a really long comment on Twitch, so hold on. Historians are very overrun now, and the historians are very overrun. I don't, Rebecca, I'm not sure if that's what you meant to say. Hospitals. Okay, cool. The hospitals are very overrun now, and nurse doctors, EMS keep leaving. So is there a way to do universal healthcare that won't make the problem worse? Not well educated on universal healthcare. Yeah, so that is a policy that I believe we're still working on. If there's anybody from Unicorn still in the chat, let me know if anybody knows the status of our healthcare stuff. So let me know if anybody has any info there. But
I know Andrew Yang had the plan that he was wanting to implement universal health care, but there was still also he was still opening the option for private health care as well. I know over in the UK, Ireland, and Scotland, they have the universal health care, but if you want to purchase your own health care, you can.
Yeah, the people that I've heard in Canada who are using as a dual option or whatever it is, a dual provider, whatever it's called, um, they've actually marked that as the beginning of the decline for their current healthcare, because you end up creating uh, a loophole for the government to start underfunding the public version in favor of letting people pay for the private version. So I would need to talk a whole lot more about people who know, or with people who know the intricacies of that, because it doesn't sound like it's actually helpful to have the second option for private. Um, Ken, you asked, it sounds like are you asking if ranked choice voting is being considered anywhere in Alabama? No, not that I'm aware of. I think it should be, because you could actually vote for who you truly want to get elected, and then a couple options below that. That would be a great idea. But I'm not aware of it being used in Alabama anywhere. And if anybody else here wants to jump on the live, let me know. And if you're on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, oh, you know what? I didn't post it to Facebook, but I don't think anybody's watching on Facebook currently. They're not. So Twitch, if you want to jump in, if anybody wants to jump in, you can use that link. And TikTok, you have to have 1,000 followers. So sorry I can't help you in there. I fall down. Have you heard many Democrats talking about voting Republican in the primaries? Yeah, we actually, one of the first people we had on, or second person. The first one was Blair, and then Incubator. It's like Chrissy, I think. Anyway, was on here mentioning potentially doing something similar, where in the primaries you're free to vote on whichever party you want to vote on. Just keep in mind, if you do that during the runoffs, you have to vote on the same party. So if there ends up being a runoff, you can't swap parties from primary to primary runoff. So keep that in mind.
I mean, I'm not voting for either Republican or Democrat. I
Well,
have not really seen any candidates in either class that I feel comfortable with.
That is completely understandable. Have you looked at the local positions also, like your local districts and things like that?
Yeah, and most of them are, the Republicans are right wing. Most of them are highly conservative Christians on the Republican Party side, and I definitely don't agree with anything they say. And then on the Democrat side, even the Democrats are at least in my area in North Alabama, a lot of them are hardcore. Even though they say they're Democrats, they still fall along the lines of the radical Christian ideology.
Gotcha. Yeah. So if you don't have anybody if you don't have anybody that you would vote for, then I'm not going to tell you to vote for somebody you wouldn't want. I understand that frustration, 100%. The only thing I would say is, if it's a smaller position and they are not unopposed, consider running against them. Like, if it's a local position, you don't need a lot of votes. Like, depending on what position it's looking for, like you know, you might be able to pull that off. It'd be a lot easier than pulling off governor at 8 months into it. Give it a shot. You could still do it.
I
Hey,
mean,
like the old
that's one of
McDonald's
the problems
commercials.
is a lot of the local they're using religion to push their own ideals, and it's horrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can always give it a shot, or somebody else you know. You never know. You could give it a shot and see what happens. At the very least, you're pushing back against that the the quote unquote status quo, right? Like, I mean, that's if nobody starts pushing back, when will they? Like, I don't, and that's a lot of the reason why I'm running right now. Is like nobody else is pushing back. Somebody's got to, like, somebody has to, because if nobody, if everybody thinks the same way and says, well, that's not that's not my place, or that's that whatever the excuse is. But if everybody's making the same excuse, then no one ever pushes back, and we don't see any change. So that's something to consider.
Well, thank you for your time. It's actually having somebody to talk to.
Yeah, of course.
It's nice actually to talk to a representative.
Hey, that is another part of doing this, and doing it live streaming as many meetings as I can. Our campaign meetings are typically streamed. Uh, all of them are streamed on the Unicorn Party social media. If I'm there, I stream them on mine as well. So I'm trying to make as many as I can and stream those on my platform also. So you're welcome to attend them or just watch them, either one. So that's I don't I think I may not make that clear enough, but like the whole party is radically open. Like the campaign meetings are publicly scheduled with the Zoom link where you can come join the meeting. Like, you can just jump in and like be respectful, but like you're a citizen of this state and you're a citizen of the U.S. Your input's valid. Be respectful, but yeah, like come on in. Like the whole point is like this is supposed to be a democracy, right? Like this is supposed to be for the people by the people. Well, it doesn't make any sense to do that privately. So anyway, looks like we're down to one person on TikTok, and we got a couple people still hanging on Twitch. So if you guys don't have anything to talk about, I'm gonna start researching because we have work to do. Uh, in fact, let's see if I can do that here. See, the downside to TikTok is that I can't screen share, and that sucks. But can't do it. You can't do it. Let's see. So we're going to close that window. We're going to close that window, and we're going to keep going here. So we're going to screen share on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm going to put myself in the corner, and TikTok I'm going to periodically ping over and just make sure I'm not missing anything. But so what we need to do is probably close those. And all right, so this is our cabinet. So we've already talked a little bit about the Bureau of Pardons and Paroles. So we're gonna leave Cam Ward alone for a little bit. I've picked on his department all day today. So actually, Medicaid is where we want to head next. So we are going to head over to Medicaid, and we've got our commissioner. That's cool. We're going to head over to Medicaid and see what we can find. We're going to see what we've got. Pam, welcome to the stream. I'm currently looking into Alabama Medicaid. So if you want to see what I'm looking at, head to one of my other platforms via the link in my bio, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook currently. All right, so we are looking at Medicaid. Let's do a quick Googly search because that's how this works. So we're going to say Medicaid spending Alabama. All right, so that's Ballotpedia, that's Medicaid. There's our statistics. That's what we're looking for. Annual report for 2019. Really? Cool. I'm hoping I just found an archived page and this isn't the most recent data that they've put out because, come on, guys. Come on. Let's see. I'm going to periodically check. Actually, Rebecca has a good question. Let's see. Are you wanting all rehabilitation, including job help for people released from prison to adjust to society? Yeah. So long term, that the prison system as it functions shouldn't exist. So it's currently set up just as a way to punish people for their crime. It doesn't actually try to solve what's called societal harms. Um, so we've got to shift that entire societal perspective on how we handle crime, like things that we don't like as a society. We have to realize the only way to actually fix it is to find out why that stuff is happening and address that problem. So a large portion of our uh, our newly admissed inmates were for crimes related to poverty. So we need to figure out ways to keep people from being poor so that they aren't committing the crimes and then have them end up in prison. So for now, though, yeah, we need actual rehabilitation and job training, but not job training that's going to send people to um, an unnamed chicken processing plant where they get their skull crushed because it's not properly safe. That's a thing, like more common than it should be. So, Chris, mom agreed to vote for you. That's awesome. Fantastic. Please tell everybody else you know. We're going to need everybody. So, Rebecca, I hope that kind of helped. Yes, we need better training so that when people get out of prison, they can get back into society and not be stuck in a cycle of recidivism where they just end up back in prison because they're still poor. So they have to commit crime to make money, which they break the law, so they go back in prison. We're going to solve for that. So let's take a look at Medicaid again. We're going to look for some. Uh, we're going to look for some newer data because this just says 2019, and that is not helpful for me. I want something newer, preferably, especially 2020 or 2021 would be great. So if we go resources and we do billing eligibility, this is not it. Statistics, go straight to this page still. Cool. So the newest data we have for Medicaid in Alabama is 2019. So let's look at the 2019 report because that's what we have. And we're going to look at budget. I think that's actually listed somewhere else, but that's our second reference as blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so it's up here at the top. Agency expenditure 6,982,225,485, and it's been sitting about the same. It's gone up a little bit, but not as a 6% increase. I know TikTok can't see this. It's gone up about 6% from 2018 to 2019, but that's not a huge shift in percentage. So, okay. So that's how much we have. So the other question, when I was asked to look into, Ray, how are you? See that you just joined on TikTok. Yeah, Rebecca, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was Job Corps. I'm not sure if it was Job Corps. I literally don't remember which one it was, but the inmate who was on a work release program was cleaning a machine on like a Sunday on a skeleton crew, and the machine wasn't properly what is it? It's lockout tagout. Oh, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the one where you have to actually like put keys in separate places and put a lock on the switch so that nobody accidentally gets hurt. That whole process wasn't followed, and something grabbed his elbow, I believe, pulled him into the machine and crushed part of his head. And I guess I should have given a trigger warning on that, and I'm really sorry, but uh, I read it without a trigger warning, so I didn't consider that. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, don't know if it was Job Corps, but literally, yeah, I think they paid for they may have paid for a funeral or something, but it was nothing like he died in the hands of the state at that point in my head. So anyway, so if we do federal funding, Alabama Medicaid, expansion is the word we're looking for. So let's see if we can go. Not accepted federal funding. Yep. Fully aware. So, number of Alabamians covered, number of Alabamians who would be covered. So we would add a third more coverage. So right now, roughly in 2021, we had a million people who were covered by Medicaid, and adding the expansion, looks like we'd add another 340,000, and then 127,000 of those have no realistic access to healthcare. So we're looking at 127,000 people who don't have insurance because we don't have the Medicaid expansion. And we're leaving about $2 billion on the table. So if we go back and look at 2019 at least, we're talking about increasing our funding for Medicaid by a third if we would accept that funding from the federal government. So that's what we're looking at doing. And as I mentioned to, I think it was Incubator, so if you're still here, if it's literally an answer of me saying yes as governor, then the answer is yes. If there are other weird stipulations, I'd have to look into those first, but I haven't found those, so I think it is just a yes. Let's see. Alabama is not accepting federal funding to expand Medicaid under the ACA, despite Democratic lawmakers repeated attempts to do so. Alabama Hospital Association also supports expansion, noting that dozens of hospitals have closed recently or are planning to close because of lack of funds. When was this? 2021, so still mid-pandemic. Let's see. Particularly in rural areas. Estimates vary, but that's the 340 number we were looking at earlier. Let's see. Federal government pays 90% of the cost of Medicaid expansion, and the state pays the other 10%. So they're talking about expanding $2 billion. We would only be paying about 10%, if I'm reading this correctly. So still a yes from me. Let's see. Determined that of the 15 states that had not yet expanded Medicaid, Alabama would see the largest decrease in its uninsured rate. The uninsured rate in Alabama would drop by roughly 43%. So half of our uninsured, we're taking a little leeway, half of our uninsured population would have access to insurance if we expanded Medicaid. Like, come on. People should be pissed at a lot of things. Should be really pissed about this right now. Although the state has thus far rejected in Medicaid has grown 27% since 2013. Nationwide, enrollment has grown by 41%. I wonder if that's because we don't have enough funding in our state, why it hasn't kept up with enrollment, or we already had higher than average amount enrolled. But either of those could be true. Not saying either are. Reading an article. So let's see. Driven large part by Medicaid expansion and the pandemic, Alabama's refusal to enroll. It shows our growth is lower than the national average. Okay, so that's part of it. Robert Bentley, previous governor, received federal approval to transition the state's Medicaid program to a managed care system involving regional care organizations, or RCOs, but the implementation of the program was delayed and Bentley resigned before the program took effect. His successor, Kay Ivey, scuttled the RCO plan and focused instead on efforts to implement a work requirement for existing Medicaid enrollees. Cool. So people on disabilities don't get Medicaid. Come on. All right. Let's see. Those are the numbers we looked at earlier, so we're good with that. Withdrawn 1,115 waiver would have imposed the nation's strictest work requirement on existing Medicaid expansion. In early 2018, Alabama's Medicaid published a proposed 1115 waiver that would have implemented a work requirement for Alabama's existing Medicaid population. The state hosted 2 in-person public comment periods soon thereafter and opened a public comment period on the proposal. Almost all of the comments from the state receiver in opposition to the work requirement. Go figure. Like, Georgia, what's going on? If you want to jump on, you can. I'm here to chat with anybody from Alabama. Looking at TikTok, sorry guys. Uh, if you want to jump on, I think you have enough people. Is that right? Yeah, you've got enough people. If you want to jump on TikTok Live, let's do it. I'm here just to chat. And now that I'm no longer reading the article, Rebecca, political stance on CPS and public schooling. Um, are those, Rebecca? Do you mean those related to each other in some way, or as separate entities? Because I'm not sure of the tie between the two. If I've missed something, that I may be missing some connection that I haven't heard of yet. But if you're talking about separately, public schooling, yes, we need better access and higher quality public education around the board. Uh, and CPS, that's Child Protective Services. Is that not DHR in our state? Why did I think it was DHR? Yeah, it's Department of Human Resources in Alabama. It's not CPS, but um, I am learning lots of things about the adoption and foster care system that make me very uncomfortable with that entire setup. Uh, and the fact that our director of human resources, hold on, for the stream that we're for everybody watching the stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Let me find it because I don't want to misquote the percent. Did I scroll right past it? Yeah, here we go. Nancy Buckner is the commissioner for the Department of Human Resources, and literally the accomplishment, or like the praise on the cabinet page for Nancy, her accomplishment in DHR is a 64% increase in adoptions. Um, I don't find that to be something to be proud of. From what I understand, as an outsider to that whole world, the majority of families and kids that are involved in the adoption and foster care system on the not receiving end don't want to be a part of it. A lot of it is forced upon them in some way or another. So I would much rather spend money helping the families that are having a hard time, that force them to give up their kid, than give that money to a different family to take the kid. How that gets implemented is a whole nother piece. That is a whole nother aspect that we're going to have to look into. If you are watching this video live or later, and that is something that you are knowledgeable about and passionate about, um, please join the campaign and help us come up with a policy to fix that. Because we should not be proud of the fact that we've increased our adoptions by 64%. Like we should. I'm going to keep using the word should this whole stream. We should be reducing the number of adoptions. We should be wanting families to keep their kids, because the majority of them, from what I understand, want to keep their kids. All right. This old Talos. My wife works in Alabama. We live like 15 minutes from the line in North Mississippi. Yeah. So you're not a resident, but if you know people who live in the state and they don't like their current options for governor, please let them know I exist. And as best you can, let people that through other relationships, whether they're friends or not, whatever is legal for you to do and won't get you fired from your job, let them know I exist, because more people need to know. Rebecca, so you said separate, and then you mentioned teachers are required to contact CPS for suspected abuse. And you're now assuming with the new law that that involves trans identity, and it's not just trans identity. If they bring up anything regarding their what the state calls assigned gender at birth, like that, like a lot of people use that phrase, but like they're talking about what's on your birth certificate. If they bring it up in school, the teachers, I believe, are required to tell the parents about it. So you're not wrong, Rebecca. And that causes other complications, like if we're proud of more adoptions and adoptions make people money because we don't do it for free, then there's a weird perverse incentive to get more people to adopt and to have a supply of babies and kids to adopt. It's a yeah. I don't know. I don't know how else to say that other than like it's a very big concern. Uh, Dad cooker, yeah. I prefer spending money on taxes on helping people rather than anything else. Yes, like that. As a society, we should be trying to help society with our group funding. Like I don't. I get that some people think that these things are helping, but they cause more harm. Like even the kids that are involved. Like if you're watching this and you're not super familiar with the trauma that goes with foster care and adoption, like I implore you to go find people who are open about that experience and the trauma that they've endured and listen. And I mean, like, sit and listen. Be prepped because, like, there are horrible things that happen in that system. And those, because they're kids, they don't have the same rights that adults do. So they can't fend for themselves. This will tell us she's an addiction therapist, is a big and is part of the Alabama drug court system. Gotcha. Yeah, we have to figure out a way to help people who have addiction problems, and it's the system is typically there to not help with the addiction. It's just there to get them out of society so they're not in front of everybody else. And I'm sitting here showing off Nancy Buckner's face. Anyway, we're going to take her face off of there for a second. So we're not talking about DHR right now. Dad Cougar, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. So, for anybody who's joined recently, the ballot access petition, unless, like, literally, unless somehow overnight we get 50,000 signatures, like, that's not happening. So, it's going to be a write in campaign. So, get used to spelling my name. And in November, spell it out JARED BUDLONG. Jail definitely doesn't seem to make anyone grow stronger in our community. No, because we have mandatory minimums, so like it doesn't even it's not even up to the sometimes not even up to the judicial system to apply things that seem fair to them, even in the whole system's broken. It's not even something they can apply fairly in their own right because of minimum standards or minimum sentence standards. But also, like if you have somebody who's addicted to a drug and you put them in prison, you are having them cut cold turkey. Like that is not from what I understand as a non-medical professional, that is not a good way to handle that situation. It can literally cause death in some cases, but is not helpful, generally speaking, from what I understand. Again, not a medical professional, but the little I do know from listening to other people who are medical professionals is not a good plan. So we should be doing something else. Trucker, I'm not sure if you're still here. If you are, I appreciate it. I'm not sure if you opened TikTok and accidentally swiped into the stream, but if you are here, thank you for joining. What were we looking at earlier? Oh, Medicaid. So I don't know if too many people in for long-term possession of paraphernalia. Yeah, that's a habitual Felony Offender Act, the HFOA. Still looking into that one. All right, so let's keep looking at the Medicaid situation because it sounds like we just need to get legislation passed to accept it. Is what it sounds like so far. So it's not something that I can just say yes to, unfortunately. I don't think incubators in here, but it doesn't sound like I can just say thank you, federal government, for more Medicaid funding. I think they actually have to pass legislation, but we could come up with some incentives coming in and saying, "Hey, legislatures, let's let's do this. The people want it, and if they don't, we just continually blast them to all of our residents and say, "Hey, your representatives are refusing to do what you want them to." That's part of the beauty of being an independent, by the way, is like I can just call out the Democrats or Republicans if they're not doing what their constituents want and just say, "Hey, you're not doing what they want. Like, they want this. They've made that very clear. You need to do this." I don't have to worry about ramifications for being in that party. Anyway, let's see. Alabama modified the proposal to allow up to 18 months of transfer of Medicaid coverage to low-income parents whose income increases above the Medicaid eligibility threshold, because there shouldn't be one. We should just cover people's health care. Pandemic essentially made Medicaid work requirements a non-starter. Yeah, because people couldn't go to work. Pretend. If you want to jump in, please do. I'm literally just streaming and hanging out with people. So if you want to jump on, everyone's more than welcome, but you are more than welcome. I don't know how else to say that. Put in a guest request if you want to jump on. And Rebecca, don't worry about apologizing. It's everybody does it because it's CPS in a lot of places. Our state says the quiet part out loud, and we call it the Department of Human Resources. It's a weird name. Weird name for a department. At least we're being honest. Calling our people resources. So, anywho, let's see. Pandemic essentially blah blah blah. Terminate coverage. I'm trying to find out if there's anything that, like, if it's literally just the governor who says no. You're here to listen for the moment, but can speak on a few things if I know enough. Oh, I mean, so if you can't chat, you can't chat. It's no big deal. I just wanted to make sure you know my platform on TikTok. You're here, and you're welcome to take the stage if you want to. Right now, we're talking about Medicaid. So if you are any more familiar with the Medicaid expansion situation and whether or not that's something I can just do versus having to get our legislature to pass it, I would love to have your input because that's what I'm currently looking at. We chatted a bit about the ballot access petition, and so that's where we're at now. Yeah, Talons mentions on TikTok that they've been waiting for a food stamp card for 4 weeks now. Yeah, 4 weeks waiting for food. I mean, it's food stamps, but that's food, right? That's the whole point of the food stamp program, is so you can get food. So waiting 4 weeks for food is not okay. It's 2022. We should be able to do this quicker. Our state is in the wrong century. Oh, sweet. Yggdrasil. I think I'm saying that right. Glad to hear. Welcome aboard. So if anybody's not familiar, I am running as an independent, but I am a part of Unicorn Party, which is an independent party, not the independent party, but an independent party, trying to make change in the country, and they're helping with any kind of campaigns. So I am the first statewide campaign candidate. President, we have one candidate, and we'll only have one candidate, but running for president 2024. And we're talking to a couple smaller candidates in like Texas and a couple places for like school boards and districts and stuff. So you're not. If any section of government appeals to my skills, it'd be energy and is that agriculture regulation? Okay. Energy would be. I wouldn't be opposed to hearing your thoughts on energy because, like, I know my electricity bill. If we're gonna get personal, like my electricity bill's gone up ridiculous in the last 2 months. So if there's something you want to talk about regarding energy, um, let's go, because that's an area that affects all of our residents, and it's weird because we're getting into weird territory, but it's like, you need electricity to live. Like, you just, it's like water at this point in this climate, in this century. Like, you need electricity in order to survive in this society. So having that as a commodity that can increase dramatically over the course of a couple of weeks is problematic. So not everybody can afford to take on that additional cost. So banning, so we can cut energy bills by banning new infrastructure additions that do not build into the green energy. Yeah, because if I understand correctly, so philosopher, remind or tell me if I'm incorrect on this, but my understanding is that they they get a special deal if they are building out infrastructure, that they can then just pass the costs onto the end user through increasing bills, but they get a deal somehow because they're increasing the infrastructure or improving the infrastructure. I think that's where we're going. And follower, yeah, 250 sounds in the summer and dead of winter, it sounds about right. And you're further north, so depending on if your house is electric, heated by electric, then yeah, I can see that very easily. Utility companies straight up build shit just to charge the customers. Yeah, no, that's my understanding as well. Is that because they can do stuff and then bill it directly to customers rather than having to actually pay for it themselves. They can just charge us. Yeah. So if they need to finagle their profit and loss statement, they can just build new stuff. Yeah. Protect that. They block any solar infrastructure. Yeah, actually, I kept getting ads for some solar company, and they eventually stopped when they realized I was in Alabama, I guess, because they were like, "Oh no, we can't do anything for you." Yeah, and even at the high prices, you're not wrong. There's still a monopoly. Like, you can't compete on an energy level, for sure. So I think I'm going to stop sharing the Medicaid screen because I've gotten where I think we have to get legislation involved. I don't think I can just say yes, which sucks. $600 a month for your electricity, man. Okay, so ironically, my gut instinct was was to say move, and I literally have an entire video. It's like, no, that's not how you solve problems. You don't just move. Uh, God, that's insane. You have me wanting to go. You know what? We're here. We're just hanging out, and I planned on being here till 10. So just so everybody's on the same page, I planned on streaming till 10, so I got about 30 minutes left. And unless like 70 people show up, um, we're gonna end at 10 anyway. So let's open this back up, and we're gonna look for Alabama electricity electricity prices pricings. I can't spell. Solar farm on every house to grow small bundles of food and hold out on strikes and hardships. Yeah, that would be mutual aid, and I haven't found anybody in our area that's got a group. Uh, Philosopher, if you're aware of any groups, please PM me, because I don't know of anybody who's building those networks, and I have a feeling they don't broadcast that on digital. I have to assume that they exist, but they are not. They don't make that super well known. So if you're aware of any, please let me know. Let's see. Average residential electricity rate is 13 cents per kilowatt hour. You're unsocial. Hey, it's okay. Hmm. There are valid reasons for that at times. Flute, thanks for the thumbs up. Does 10 Gilliand about 9 cents per kilowatt hour after 10. Interesting. I was just going by what Find Energy put up. I was trying to look for rates in various parts because Yggdrasil, I think I'm saying it wrong, but anyway, they were saying that their bill is $600 a month, or can be, and I don't think mine has ever gotten above 4. And I have to assume that is a pricing difference. That's where my gut goes. This is a pricing difference. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Standard family dwelling rate. I think I'm streaming this to the other. Yeah. So we're taking a look and seeing what happens. Alabama Power. Choose a rate plan. Family dwelling on demand. Family dwelling rate standard. Family dwelling flat bill. Time advantage rate plans. Ooh, renewable and alternate energy. We have to look at those too. Let's see. So we've got our time advantage, and that's I think what does 10 Jillion mean was talking about. Let's see. Do we have any actual pricing? Time advantage energy. Are they giving us? They're not giving us pricing here, though. I bet they don't. They're not going to give you pricing on the website. Oh, here we go. Hold on. So during the winter months, you want to shift energy usage between 5 a.m. or sorry, to before 5 a.m. or after 9 p.m., where it is 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour. Okay, so it drops a little bit. I didn't see the main pricing. Does it say? Did I skip right past it? I did. Oh my gosh, summer peak hours is 27 cents an hour. Goodness. So Grizzlies in Huntsville saying theirs barely go above 200 in the summer. Um, yeah, so I wonder what that difference is. I mean, it could just be the efficiency of the house. That could be it. If you're in I remember being in our first apartment, my wife and I, when we first moved here to this area, we got a super old apartment, and it was a good deal because they were renovating the rest of the apartments. So we were paying, if memory serves, it was like $400. Like we paid $400 a month for our apartment, but our electricity was like $250, and this was 15 years. Oh, hold on, 13 years ago. And then we moved to a new apartment, and the apartment was like $800 a month, but we only paid like $100 on electricity because of the efficiency change. So, is Huntsville on TVA or Alabama? I don't know. I think you're asking Grizzly. By the way, Forrest, if you want to jump on, you're welcome to. I know you mentioned earlier that you may not be able to, but you are welcome to jump on the live if you want to. And anybody who is hanging out on Twitch still, you are welcome to jump on the live also. If you want that link, let me know. You don't have to turn your camera on if you don't want to. You can just jump on and chat. Man, I wonder. Gosh, summertime peak hours is 28 cents. 28 cents per kilowatt hour. That's intense. What's weird is they were saying earlier, whomever it was, I think it was Yggdrasil. I'm going to get it right one time. Was mentioning it was in winter, so I wonder if it was just using it during peak hours and using a lot of it because of inefficiency in the household. I don't know. There's something to look into. You may check your rate. So whether you're doing flat rate or if you can jump into one of the what did they call it? Time advantage. See if that would help. You never know. I'm just going to close all those out because I'm not worried about it. Let's see. No, that's just a freaking ad. I don't know how I got there. Must have accidentally clicked one. Yeah, I thought it was Alabama Power, but I clicked a freaking sales site for solar panels. that's absurd in winter. It's absurd in summer also. Yeah. No, I mean, like, so summer peak was 28 cents. The winter was like 9. So, like, that is a huge, huge jump between the two. I should probably stop sharing my screen at this point. We got about 20 minutes. If anybody has anything you want to bring up, synchron. Ooh, I had synchron. Hold on, does that say synchronicity? Is that what that says? Well played on the username. Well played. Oh my gosh. All right, so then this is probably a good time for me to mention uh, campaign stuff. So I'm going to take a swig of water, and we're now doing a write-in campaign for anybody who's just joining us. The ballot access petition did not get enough signatures, and unless we get enough signatures, and by that I mean like 50,000 overnight, we're just we're doing a write-in campaign. So that's the goal at this point. Yeah, if you want to jump on and talk solar, let's go. Forrest, I've got 20 minutes. Let's talk solar. Uh, while you're putting in your guest request, the campaign is going to be a write-in campaign, so please practice spelling my name, JARED November 8th, JARED So that's the goal at this point. Make sure everybody around you knows that I exist and that I am wanting to give more rights back to all of our residents. Like we're not trying to take rights away like a lot of other people and a lot of other groups. We want to make sure we're giving more rights back. We want to increase access to healthcare and education and improve the quality of both of those, and then do something about the justice system slash renamed slave plantations that we have in Alabama. So that's the goal, because that's what they are. Nobody wants to call it that. I say nobody. Nobody in office wants to call them plantations, but they're just rebranded plantations at this point. So it's all they've ever been. Anyway, yeah, store some food down and we'll talk about solar. In the meantime, our unicorn party is who I'm a part of. Ray in the chat is helping. Blair was in here earlier helping. I think Stellar was in here earlier. We are I call us a collective of oddballs. Like we're people who are tired of the way the system is working across the country. If you're in Alabama, great. We're here to change Alabama. But if you're not in Alabama and you somehow are hanging out on this live, there is a spot for you also. So if you want to help change things, go to the link in my bio, whichever platform you're looking at, and there is an option to volunteer and an option to join the Unicorn Party Forum. That's where we're doing all of our work. So, and the thing that I need everybody to know is that we are not here to run you ragged. We want a lot of help so we can all do smaller amounts and make huge change. So the phrase I believe is many hands make light work. That's what we're aiming for. So, if you have 3 hours a week that you can spare, we would love to have your help. If you have 1 hour a week that you can spare, we'll find something for you to do. If you are at home and don't have a job but still want to be able to make change, let's say you're 16 or 17 and you're lucky enough to be at home and don't have to have a job and you can spare a ton of time, then we'll take that also. But we want anybody to be involved who wants to change Alabama or your state or the United States, because a lot of us are fed up and tired, and the traditional parties have not been helping people. So we have meetings coming up every week, regularly scheduled meetings. So the next one that everybody should care about is the general welfare meeting that is on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. our time in Alabama. So I can say that if you're in another state, convert for Central Standard Time. And then we've got a marketing meeting on Wednesday at 4 p.m., campaign finance at 5 p.m., social media planning at 6. It's called the Daily Dump. Jasmine has I hope I'm not going in and out. Hold on. Forrest, I'm letting you in. Hopefully you can stay on. Uh, Jasmine does a daily live stream at 9 a.m. Central called the Daily Dump, where they just give out information about the campaign and have topics they talk about. The planning for that is the night before at 7 p.m. typically, and then we have a communications meeting on Wednesday at 8. So, Forrest, what's up? Hopefully, I can hear you. Oh, you're muted, by the way. Maybe you're still eating. You can unmute, by the way, when you join. Uh, if you join and then click the little camera icon on TikTok, you can mute and unmute yourself and turn your camera on and off once you're in the live. You don't have to drop out and come back in. They do not make that super easy to understand either, but it's doable. So put your actually here. I'll invite you and see what happens. I'm going to invite you and we'll see if it'll let you in. Anyway, let's see. No new comments there, so we're good. There we go. How are you? How are you? I'm good. I'm good. I had a good chat with somebody at lunchtime today who may be willing to help the campaign financially. They are very frustrated having moved here from California and seeing the direction our state is going. I've They wanted more info about me and where I'm at and kind of where everything stands. And I've got fingers crossed that they're still wanting to help out, even though this is a very underdog campaign at this point. So we'll see how it goes.
Cool, man. That's great news.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I hate that. I don't know. I should be thankful, but on the flip side, like I I know that up note for me, that positive note for me, is only because our state is treating people so horribly. Like, and that's a tough, like, I don't know if dichotomy is not the right word. It's a tough thing to hold at the same time. Is like being thankful that like somebody wants to support you, but also they're doing it because our state is literally threatening people's lives. So like, I will take whatever I can get. I just hate that this has to happen. So whatever. I feel like that's my whole campaign. It's like I don't like. Yeah. I shouldn't have to be running right now. Like that. This shouldn't be a thing. Like I shouldn't be doing this, but I am because nobody else is.
Well, I'm glad you are.
Yeah, it's a common sentiment.
And it's very important, I think, when we have, like we have in this state, such a monopoly of power. And it seems to me that the Democratic Party in this state is complacent with the power structure. I don't know how it could be perceived as not, actually.
Yeah, so I've talked to a couple people, like being completely transparent. Like I'm interacting with and connected to, and would say friendly with a few Democratic candidates who aren't running for governor. They're running for like district seats and house seats and things, but like they are pushing for some of the same things I am. It feels like from some people who have been doing it longer, they seem to think that the Democratic Party here has just been neglected, I guess is the best word. Like the people in the party have kind of neglected the party.
Do you personally think that's coincidence, or do you think it's part of a brokerage system amongst wealthy people who hold position in this state?
I don't know.
Because as a person who comes from one of you're familiar with the Caraway hospital system?
I'm not. No.
In Birmingham? Well, it used to be, several hospitals that were all Caraway hospitals. My grandfather was one of the founding doctors there. He's a surgeon, what have you.
Okay.
They were well-to-do. My grandparents were. And so, I rub elbows with, fancy people. My dad rejected wealth. He inherited
Right.
and he gave it away. So my dad is a radical dude. He's also not very nice guy. He's rather abusive. But the point is that even though I come from a family of, a good family, or not good family, a family of means,
Yeah.
I wasn't afforded the luxuries of that except for my grandmother taking me out and spoiling me here and there, but my dad wouldn't allow her to. I wasn't even allowed to have Christmas presents. My point in all saying all that is that, like I know these people and I've seen how they interact with each other. Like I've been to parties at Doug Jones's house and what have you. I used to live right down the street from him.
Okay.
I see how Democrats and Republicans in power, and it kind of lends to my theories that there's not a lot of party lines amongst the ruling class. I think that it's almost a show at some point. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. So
It seems that way.
on the national level, like that's definitely the impression I get. I don't know, because there's not a very big public presence for the Democratic Party in Alabama. I don't know enough, like firsthand. My problem, and maybe I will openly admit, maybe I don't know enough about how the relationship between the DNC and the local parties work. But it, to me, it seems like if you're gonna be using the same name, there, in the society we live in and the restrictions around name usage, it seems like they would have to have some type of relationship. I haven't looked into it because I really don't care, because I I don't see either side of those two parties affecting real change. I'm not, again, like I've said it lots of times, like there are people in each, well, there are hypothetically people in each party that care about people that want to make change. Um, I think that is more likely on one side than the other. From the people that I've interacted with and seen, there are a few people who are on the Republican side that, like, outside of a few issues, I'm like, you know what? Like you don't seem, from what I see, you don't seem that bad. There are a couple pieces like that's problematic, so I'm not gonna, like, I would not endorse you or vote for you. But outside of a couple things, it's like everything else is like, yeah, you seem like you actually want to help. But as a whole, like they're not they've had their chance. Like in my head, like they've had their chance. Like our state specifically has elected so many candidates, or not so many candidates, so many governors who have been uh, convicted of crimes, and not small ones, that, like, it's it's on both sides. So you can. I'm not familiar enough with Troy King specifically.
So Troy King was one of these Bible thumping, anti anything that's not a cis hetero, Christians. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
These guys. And he, number one, he was a crook. He was a criminal. He's the attorney general for a while. But he also turned out, that his homophobia was more an internal expression than an external one, because, he was kind of like Lindsey Graham, rumored to have frequented houses of ill repute, I guess is
Okay.
how I'll put that.
All right.
But not for females.
Right.
And once the truth came out about him, he quit. But anyway, he was a good example of somebody that went on TV all the time and talked all this, macho garbage, and turned out that he was quite literally
Yeah, it was projecting rather than
Yeah.
whatever else.
Anyway, do you want to talk about solar, man? Because I
Yeah.
have a very interesting way that I do my solar that I think maybe this might actually help some people.
Yeah, as long as you're not feeding it directly back into the power lines, we're good. What do you got going on?
I do not. I do not do that. So this is how I do this. I use off-grid componentry, and I have a parallel system. So where my solar does not backfeed. I don't sell Alabama Power my power. I have what's called basically like a thermal battery, which is basically a water tank that once my batteries are topped off, and I am producing more solar energy than I can use, then it's heating this water in a super insulated tank that will feed into my water heater, which water heater is 30% of your power bill. A lot of people don't realize that.
Right.
And here's another technique what you do is you literally run wire and run a separate circuit that is your solar system, and you have two wires coming into one plug, and you put a relay in there which relay is a switch, kind of a smart switch, I guess. And let's say for my refrigerator runs off of solar. Unless the solar's not there, I use Alabama Power as my backup, basically, is what I do.
Gotcha.
And it is tremendously effective. And there's nothing Alabama Power can do to stop me, because that's none of their business, and they can't tell me I can't, and neither can anything else. There's no electrical code violation. There's nothing about doing it this way. So I highly recommend to people, get yourself a little solar system. And let me also say this. I know that lithium mining is something that people love to talk about, but to be honest, that is a bit of a propaganda smear campaign by energy companies. Yes, lithium mining is not this wonderful thing, but no mining is. And it's really no different or better or worse. And none of these conservatives are like, yeah, but them lithium batteries that's just tearing up the world. It's like, you're not complaining about the fracked natural gas. You're not complaining. You have this major problem that the lithium batteries are the worst thing in the world. It's literally, people, please read into this, read into actually what's going on there, because it's exaggerated. It is funded by energy companies because they don't want you to have a solar system in your house, because that cuts into their business and their profits. So anyway, just that out of the way.
Yeah.
I use lithium ferrous phosphate batteries. They are typically called Hfoa batteries, Hfoa 4. And once you get a solar system put together, I highly recommend putting your lights and your data on the solar for everybody. Because if power goes out, if you can have your lights and you have internet, you're ahead of the curve. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it takes very, very, very little electricity. And just don't think about the system that you have in your house. Put a parallel system up. Put a series of LED lights that are fed off your batteries, and whether you use them or not, they'll be there for you when you need them, and have it possible to where a
some comfort with the AC running.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I don't know why people are so like. I talk to people a lot about solar because people know that I do solar, and they don't. And I think there's so many misconceptions, and there's so much worry, and people think you have to tie in. I highly recommend people do not grid tie with their solar.
Right.
Run a parallel system. There's nothing there's no regulatory agency that has any jurisdiction over that. It's your house. You can do it.
Right. So I guess I'm in lower Alabama, so my concern would be, I guess, uh, hurricane damage slash things hitting it while I assume it's mounted to your roof at this point, or is it small enough to where you can mount it like a satellite dish to the side in the yard somewhere? How?
Yeah, I don't. Mine's all on the ground. I don't not on the ground. They're in frames. I have a sawmill, so I built like wooden frames and I've mounted them. But I've had my solar panels. There was a tornado that hit that knocked 3 of my solar panels quite a good distance.
Yeah.
30 feet.
Wow.
It's tough, man. They put something on there. I use so now there's several companies that make. This is another thing. Like back probably 3 years ago, solar panels, the very best efficiency you would get was maybe 20%.
Right.
Whereas these days, it's not uncommon to have a solar panel get 45%, which I mean they are. So you're getting more energy out of less space.
Right.
Than you used to get, and the battery technology is going to change the world within the next, I don't know, hopefully 10 years. And I think a lot of the posturing you see from wealthy people and people that control the markets are part of the inflation. I think people need to understand is people seeing like political unrest, and these are people who have they're squeezing all the juice they can get out of the grape before things go to hell.
Right.
For lack of a better term, and it's the same kind of thing with solar. Is once these graphene batteries and solid state batteries, these exist. These are not fantasy. I mean, they make these lithium batteries look like our old lead acid batteries. It's comparative, the efficiency, the amount of energy they can store. I mean, there's even some batteries that are able to produce electricity without it is a continuous process basically. There's even some batteries that are coming that will basically take water and tear the hydrogen off from the oxygen, release the oxygen, and use the hydrogen to free up electrons to be used as I mean, so I'm kind of all over the place. I guess I hope I'm making sense. I'm kind of saying a lot in a short amount of time. So,
yeah, most of it. Most of it. I guess the only thing that I've heard that I don't think you've addressed so far is the changing technology and whether or not replacement panels are compatible like years apart. So if let's say you have 5 panels now and one of them breaks in 4 years, like when you have to replace that panel, are they going to be interchangeable or do you have to replace it again?
You don't want to put because of okay, so solar panels have built into them a diode that will only let the electrons flow one way.
Okay.
So that you can't basically burn them up.
Right.
So the problem with putting, like, let's say I have some old 100-watt panels, and then I have some new 350-watt, maybe some 550-watt panels. I can't just mix and match. But it's not because I can't mix and match them. It's because it would damage the electronics that are, that keep the panels operating separate.
Okay.
And use basically a balancer to multiply those voltages, so that I don't cause an incompatibility, hitting something with more power than it's rated to handle.
Sure.
Basically.
So, but there's no inherent problem with mixing two different 100-watt panels.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
As long as it's, the voltages are ballpark the same, it's not an issue. As far as, no, yeah, you can. I mean, it's an MC4 connection, so they'll snap right together, and there shouldn't be a problem there. But I would be leery of putting a 500-watt panel and a 100-watt panel together, because the 500-watt panel is going to send
too much power back towards the 100-watt.
Yeah.
Because the 100-watt has a.
And it may not be an issue whatsoever, because, what's to say you don't have 500-watt panels, 100-watt panels feeding into that 100-watt panel, and how can it know the difference?
Right.
Well, it can't.
Yeah.
So, in some senses, it may be just fine, but I think that you run a slight risk.
Oh, did I lose you? May have lost you. While you're coming back, Shirley, it's not like using too many extension cords. It's more like using the wrong fuse on the wrong device. So
Yes.
the concern is
Yes.
the concern is having too much power to go back against something that's not intended to protect against that. So, or towing too much weight in a trailer for your vehicle. Like it's a power issue. Too many extensions cords together is that's kind of similar, because the longer your cordage gets, the less efficient it is, if I remember my terminology correctly. There was a comment. Shirley asked if this is kind of like using too many extension cords together, and I was like, not really, but kind of.
See, now you have to understand. Now this is direct current. This is not AC.
Right.
So AC can travel for 1,000 yards, no problem. You're not really having any loss. Whereas direct current, you need fatter wires and less distance.
Right.
Because DC does not. That's why we use alternating current for our power grid instead of direct current, because you have to have the alternating current to be able to put up with the distances.
Right. It's not efficient for long term.
Here's another thing that I said. I think I glitched out when I was saying this. Another major issue to consider would be that we have there's the manufacturers are put proprietary technologies into their panels, and so that would be the other problem with mixing and matching, is that the manufacturers have made it a proprietary thing to where they won't play nicely with others.
Gotcha. And that may have been what people were talking about then.
What's that?
I said that may have been what somebody was talking about. I can't remember if I was reading an article or if I was listening to a podcast. I don't remember, but somebody mentioned that the frustration they foresee is putting up 30 panels or whatever it is. That's probably way too many, but like covering a house, and then a storm hitting, breaking one of them, and then going, oh, they don't make this model anymore, so now I have to replace all of these because the new ones won't work with it. Or in a hellscape scenario, like they bought all these from this company and it works, but it was a fly by night. Like they existed for 4 years, and now that company doesn't exist, and they had proprietary pieces in it, so that you can't even get replacements.
Could get in there and make them play nicely. So
right.
If you're really worried about that, don't be, because you give me a meter and some solder and some connections, and I can make them play nicely. I don't have to be nice with them.
do they not have little like microcontrollers and stuff in them to regulate regulate
really
power?
don't.
Interesting. Okay.
They really don't. They're very, they're very passive. Um, but you do typically have uh, basically a diode so that if there is a problem with backfeed, you don't fry out your panel or burn your panel out
Right.
by accidentally hooking up incorrectly or something.
Yeah. Or it's kind of like, I mean, you're just converting energy from one to the other, and you want to prevent it from going the opposite direction. So like a lot of people don't realize that a set of headphones is it can be a microphone. It doesn't sound good, but if you wire this backwards, you can use it as a microphone. It's not a good one because it's intended to do something else, but it'll still convert acoustic to electric both ways. You just have to hook it up the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
That's what you're just talking about. I'm an audio guy as well.
So in a past life, I did sound engineering for an organization, and podcasting was a huge passion. I haven't done it in a while. I take that back. I have a podcast that I'm currently on, but I have 3 episodes I need to edit, and I haven't for like 2 months because I got busy and forgot to.
I'm a Pro Tools editor guy.
Gotcha.
I have a degree from Berklee College of Music in Boston in digital audio production.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, mine's all learned myself. I said mine's all learned myself. It was never any professional education on it, but
I also studied acoustics at Stanford. And so I'm a physics guy too. So I know sound waves as well, and know what sound does in spaces. I used to tune. Are you familiar with Meyer sound rigs?
No.
Arrays. Well, it's a line array is a type of speaker system, and I used to tune those things and make them sound good in rooms.
So
that sort of thing.
we're talking about like the arrays that are kind of curved so that you can hit sound throughout the entire room at the right time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so those speakers that are closest to the front of the house are going to be like the guys on the front row are going to get the sound slightly after the sound leaves the speakers at the top. They're hitting people in the back.
Right.
So you figure the speed of sound, and you figure, okay, these people are back here, So you want the sound to all kind of hit at once. And yeah, you calculate all that stuff and program
I understand it conceptually, but I never got into doing any of that. Somebody else always set ours up.
You ever need any help editing? I'm an editing machine when it comes to and I have all the toys to do editing with. I still have a.
This is a
I use here and there.
Yeah, this is a very light editing podcast. I just need to sit down and do it. And if my other 2 hosts are somehow watching this, I mean, it hasn't come out, and it's literally I forgot. So I'm just going to apologize.
Hey man, I sure appreciate your time and letting me on. If anybody has any questions about solar or wants any help with solar, feel free to contact me. I will, again, I'm not doing this trying to get any money from anyone, but I am considering opening an off-grid solar supply company here in Alabama because I have put together a lot of these systems for people.
Right.
I've done it for my mom and for friends and in my own places, and I've developed such a technique that the main thing that I have like a pecking order, which I have a very methodical in the way that I do this, and I've developed the devices. Like I've developed a plug that can take 2 wires and will pick whichever one has electricity in it. You can say, okay, if you can tell the switch, if there's electricity in wire A, use that, and if it's not there, take it from this. Switch
Right.
And so Mike's house, this is an example, we put two mini splits in, really high SEER, 23 SEER, and I think the other one is a 27 SEER. SEERs are a rating for how efficient an air conditioning unit is.
Okay.
So CEER, if anybody's curious. And so this house runs off of, oh gosh, it's not even that much. He probably has 11 kilowatt hours of potential in his solar array, and we have a pretty massive battery bank. So the battery bank is about 32 kilowatt hours capacity, and he runs his mini splits and runs his fridge 24/7 off his solar, and it's ran pretty flawlessly for quite some time. And he took his power bill from $160 a month on average to about 30 or 40.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And that, man, yeah, I mean, that is, and you just got to put that in perspective. And we're not talking about, so let me dismiss this too. Everybody thinks solar costs so much money because there are a lot of guys out there that do this, and they are leeches. So I'm talking about a system that costs $5,000 that
Right.
does this. I'm not talking about a system that costs tens of thousands of dollars. I'm talking about a $5,000 investment, and then indefinitely your power bill is drastically reduced. Not just like a little bit reduced, but like that is I'm not going to be able to do the math in my head that quickly, but I mean that's from 160 a month average to 30 to 40 bucks.
Yeah.
That is a massive decrease in your bill.
If I could find where this calculator has ended up.
Thank you so much for having me on. And
yeah.
Like I said, if anybody has any questions about solar, I'll be happy to answer those. It's a lot more viable than people think, and you don't have to spend a bunch of money on it.
Because in theory, you can.
There's so many contractors in this state. I built a system for somebody that a guy had contracted. It told him it was going to be $95,000 for an install. I installed an identical system for $11,000 for the guy.
Right.
So
yeah.
Beware, that's
well, so in theory, before we wrap up, my understanding is that you should be able to start small and scale it if finances are that much of an issue.
Yeah.
So like, if you can't do the full, let's say you're going to do 10 panels, you could start with 2 or 3 and a smaller battery bank.
Sure.
And then somebody who knows what they're doing would have to add on.
Where you want to spend your money is on your batteries. Get the best batteries you can afford. The solar panels aren't nearly as important. Having a good all-in-one unit, you want to, there's so many of these. You can get on eBay and easily find a 3 kilowatt, 3,000 watt inverter, a 12 kilowatt inverter. If 2 of those can run a typical, house that a family lives in.
Okay.
And they will typically pair. And you're talking about $2,000 investment for 12 kilowatt. It's not. It is. If you yes, that's a lot of money. But like a 3,000 watt, which can take a massive chunk out of your power bill. Run your fridge, run your hot water heater, what have you, with proper batteries. I mean, $3,000-4,000 if you're there. If you're talking about reducing your battery, I mean your power bill by 40-50%. I mean, how long before it's paid for itself?
Right. Well, that and it's.
You have power when everybody else loses it.
I was going to say that's
a joy.
That's the other almost priceless benefit is when power goes out, you still have your main power. your backup is the one that has gone out at that point. So yeah,
absolutely, man. Well,
sweet.
Hey, man, much love to you. Thank
Appreciate
you so much for having me on.
Of course.
And I look forward to seeing where you're going to go with your political career. I think this is I appreciate your voice. I appreciate what you're doing for everyone in the state. I think that
it's something that people understand subconsciously, but have not awoken up to the stark reality. Everybody understands
George
it.
Carlin has put it the best, man. George Carlin's spill on, it's a big club and you're not in it.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
anyway, much love, brother.
All right, man.
You say, man.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Yep. Thanks. TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. I'm going to end it because it is 10:20. I went 20 minutes longer than I had planned. Thanks everybody who hung out. I will see you next time.